Hi friends, today we're going to solve lesson 3.4. This lesson is on page 159. So again, this lesson is on page 159. Alright, so today's lesson is on problem solving. So we're going to take a look at some multiplication problems and figure out good ways for us to solve them. So first, we've got this problem about drumming. So let's read it and see what we can figure out. 3 groups of students are taking drum lessons. There are 8 students in each group. How many students are taking drum lessons? So the first thing I started with is I circled the first number that I saw. I saw 8 students. Now I also see a number word in here. Does anybody see that number word? Good. The number 3. So I've got 3 and 8. My next step is to underline the question. My question is, how many students are taking drum lessons? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Now we got to see if we can find any operation clues. 3 groups. I know that if it says groups, I'm probably going to have to draw some equal groups. So I've got 3 groups of students are taking drum lessons. There are 8 students in each. Each is a magic multiplication word. In each group, how many students are taking drum lessons? All right, so let's take a look at the problem a little further. What do we need to find? They have a sentence for us here. It says, I need to find how many blank are taking drum lessons. So they took this right from the question, are taking drum lessons, and we need to find how many students. So we are looking for the number of students. Now it says, what information do we need to use? There are blank groups of students taking drum lessons. So they separated out this first sentence, and we found that there were 3 groups of students that were taking drum lessons. Now they went on to the next sentence. There are blank students in each group. We circled the number 8. So now, for today's lesson, we are going to draw a bar model to help us see how many students are taking drum lessons. Okay? So we're going to draw a bar model to help me see how many students I'm going to write in total, because that tells me that I need to find it all together. How many students in total are taking drum lessons? Now, I took all of those words right from this problem right here. So if you don't know how to spell it, it is okay. It's probably already spelled for you. So now we're going to solve the problem. It says complete the bar model to show the drummers. So they've got a bar model here. Remember, this bracket down at the bottom is going to tell us how many students there are. So you can see here that our bar is divided into 3 groups, right? 1, 2, 3. And we know that there are 8 students in each group. So they put 8 in that group. We got to put 8 in that group. And we got to put 8 in that group. So now we got to figure out how many there are altogether. Now, if you can't add 8 plus 8 plus 8 in your head, sometimes I like to draw dots in my bar model. So I'll draw 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I can just count how many dots I've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So we've got 24 students. Now, since we've got equal groups, we can also multiply to find the number of students taking drum lessons. So our multiplication problem would be 3, because I've got 3 groups of 8. And we found here that the answer is 24. So 24 is what this would equal, and it's equal to the answer that we found. So how many students are there in all? There are 24 students in all. Now we're going to flip the page and we're going to solve one more problem. This one says 12 students in Mrs. Taylor's class want to start a band. 7 students each made a drum. The rest of the students made 2 shakers each. How many shakers were made? All right, so let's start with circling the numbers. I see the number 2. Then I also see some number words. Can you find them? We've got 12 and 7. Then I'm going to underline my question. Our question is, how many shakers were made? Then we're going to box those operation clues. So we've got 12 students in Mrs. Taylor's class went to start a band. 7 students each made a drum. So I'm going to say 7 students each. I'm going to box each. The rest of the students made 2 shakers each. How many shakers were made? All right, so we've got the word rest. That tells me I'm going to have to find out how many are left over. All right, so what do we need to find? Well, let's take a look at that question. We need to find how many shakers were made. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down. How? All these words are in the question. Many shakers were made. Now, what information do we need to use? So, we need to use that there are 12 students in the class that want to start a band. We need to know that 7 students made a drum. And we need to know that blank students, we need to figure out that blank students made 2 shakers each. All those words are in the question. If I'm going too fast for you, go ahead and pause the video quick. All right, now how will we use the information? Well, we're going to start with a bar model because I see that there. All right, so how will I use the information? We're going to use a bar model to solve. So over here it says record the steps you used to solve the problem. Okay, so in this bar model they've got 12 total students and they've got 7 students in there that made a drum. So we need to figure out how many students that leaves. What is a way I could figure out the missing number? Well, I see the word rest, which usually tells me subtraction. So let's see if we can use subtraction to solve for the missing number. Well, let's start with the total number of students. So there are 12 students, and 7 have already been counted for. So we need to figure out how many that leaves. Now I can't do 2 minus 7, so I'm going to borrow from the tens, and I'm going to make my 2 a 12. And now when I do 12 minus 7, that doesn't really help me, does it? Because I just have the same problem. So if I've got 7, let's count up and see how many we've got left. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we've got 5 left. Now it says that each of these students, because we can fill that in here, each of those students made 2 shakers each, and we need to find out how many shakers were made. So now we've got 5 students that each made 2 shakers. Let's see if we can draw a picture of that. So we've got 1 student who made 2 shakers, 2 students who made 2 shakers, 3 students who made 2 shakers, 4 students who made 2 shakers, and my 5th student that made 2 shakers. So now let's see, how many do we have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We've got 10 shakers. So, what multiplication sentence did we just draw? We drew blank rows of blank. Well, how many rows did we draw? We drew 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. And there were 2 in each row, and we got that our answer equaled 10. So how many shakers in all did your students make? They made 10. Now, how do we know that our answer is reasonable? Well, we solved it with a picture and multiplication. So we can just leave that one blank. All right, go on to the next part of the lesson.